Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Joseph Clough, and on this episode, we are really getting into the motivational mindset of what has to happen to achieve your dreams and goals in the most fantastic way. Now, of course, this is being live streamed on things like Facebook and YouTube, so feel free to always follow me there if you wish to, for those listening to this on the app or the podcast. It's always nice to get there live. That means we can kind of talk before the live or the live recording and also after the live recording. Now, as I said, this is all about the Monday, or this has been recorded on Monday, the motivational mindset of getting what we want and being the person that we desire to be, and I always say deserve to be. You see, I don't think we should be playing small. I don't think that we should be buying into the stories and the fears of the past, or the programming, the things that are getting in our way. We've got to rise up. We've got to make a decision that actually we are worth more. So when that fear and worry and anxiety starts to kick in, it is our opportunity to take that as a signal and go, I'm going to assume responsibility. I'm going to assume responsibility for my thoughts and my feelings, my behaviors. So no matter what happens in my environment, no matter what happens to me, I'm not going to allow it to become me as a person. It's not going to cause me to stay stuck or play small. The first step, we always must assume responsibility. Honestly, no one can help you in the most powerful way if you're not taking responsibility for who you are and where you're heading. They can show you the way, they can guide you the way, they can take you by the hand, but if you're not willing to show up, if you're not ready to make that change or do the work, it is important that we get ourselves in that mindset of, I have to assume responsibility for who I am and where I'm heading. I'm going to do whatever it takes, even if I so-called failed in the beginning. Even though I make mistakes along the way, I'm going to learn, I'm going to grow, I'm going to change, I'm going to transform, I'm going to be the person. When the things keep happening to me, when the going gets tough, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm not going to let anything or anyone diminish my light. Because I believe we have a light within us. I believe that you have the opportunity to grow. I believe that you have everything you need. You just may not know how to put it all together yet. That's the thing, right? You've got all the resources within you. There's every opportunity around you that you can take advantage of. Whether it be listening to every one of my free episodes, well over 600 free episodes, with I believe the mindsets and the tools to be able to gear you and armor you with everything that you need. Now, the thing is, we've got to ask ourselves the question, are we willing to put in the work? Are we willing to put the time in to really shine as a person? Am I really going to do what has to be done and not just be on the sidelines? I want us to all shine. I want us to all get to where we want to be. And I don't care if you want to make that financial goal. I don't care if it's that relationship goal. I don't mind if it's that career goal. I don't mind if it's a health goal. I don't mind if it's a spiritual goal. I don't mind fill in the blank to whatever that goal is. You've got to go, well, this goal is mine. If you didn't think about it, if you didn't want it, then it may not happen. But if you do want it, if you do need it, and it is something that's going to benefit yourself, the world, and everyone in your life, it is our duty to go ahead and make it happen, to shine a light on that darkness, to be able to elevate our mind, get the success that we desire, so we can ultimately be the person that we were born to be, to dig deep. You see, sometimes the stress of life is our awakening. Sometimes the stress and the worries is your opportunity to go, look, there's something's not happening in my life. It's not working. Something I'm doing is not walking right now. The events that I went through were horrible, but I'm going to refuse to allow them to stop me and my light and where I'm wanting to be. Like I said, I don't mind if it's a part of you which wants to make thousands of dollars. I don't mind if it's that relationship. Whatever goal is meaningful to you is of value to you. And if it's of a deep value to you, even if that fear feels like it's crushing us, sometimes we feel like that scarcity is getting in our way, and we see all these hurdles in front of us. It doesn't mean that we stop. It doesn't mean that we fall back. It doesn't mean that we self-sabotage. It doesn't mean that we have to stay who we thought we were in the past or what that person told us. There's always an opportunity to grow. There's always a way around that situation. I don't care if you go through it, around it, on top of it, to the side of it, whatever it is. We've got to rise up because this is what we want. This is our goal. This is our dream. This is who we're going to become. This is what we're going to do. And I'm going to surround myself with people who will support me, because when you get your supporters, when you get the people around you who can lift you up and you can do the exact same thing, you are absolutely going to make the changes. It might be hard in the beginning. You might struggle in the beginning, but just because it's hard, it doesn't mean that we stay the same. Just because it's hard, it doesn't mean that we just resign ourselves. Do you know what? A bit of hard work actually builds us. You see, when I've gone through all my stuff in my life, those events, those situations, and all those experiences, they cause me to build who I am, to create myself, to be able to create the thoughts that I want. When the thoughts were coming into me which were negative, saying, look, you're not worthy, Joseph, you're not deserving, who are you to go to school, who are you to go to college, who are you to get that life that you want? After a while, I thought, well, do I want those thoughts, that inner critic, that imposter syndrome, that fear, that worry, that doubt? Do I want all of those collection of ideas that I built up over the years, wherever it was what I went through, what people told me? Do I want that to be the summary of me? Do I want that to be who I am? Of course not. And in the exact same way, you don't have to be that person either. You can actually rise up today. But it starts with a decision. It starts with your mindset, the ability to catch thoughts, the ability to reconnect with yourself. So when the fear is there, when the darkness is there, when all the worries and the stresses are happening, it is your time to begin to collect your thoughts, recognize them, and start to utilize them and bend them and adjust them to your advantage. So when that thought comes in, we don't let it run wild. When we have that fear, worry, anxiety, I know it can be hard to be able to deal with it, but realize there are tools out there for you. Your brain is geared and designed to work for you, but somewhere along the line, we got lost. Somewhere along the line, that person said something, that situation happened, and it came to your unconscious mind's conclusion that maybe you're not worthy, maybe you're not deserving, maybe you're not capable, maybe you're not able, maybe you're not safe. All of those things was a conclusion based on that past situation. Now, just because it was your conclusion in that stressful situation, just because it was your conclusion in all of those things that were happening to you at that time, it doesn't mean it has to be your reality. It doesn't mean that's the structure of you or the substance of you. It just means that you were molded to this point. But what you do now, you can start to mold yourself to be different. You can actually allow yourself to shine on. So have that dream. And if that dream feels too big for you, that it starts to scare you, that it starts to make you maybe feel like, I'm going to self-sabotage, it's way too big, it's out of my control, it's too far away, it's too big when I think about it. Well, break it down. Give yourself the space and the opportunity to just go, look, I'm going to achieve the big goal, the end goal, the dream. But what can I do now that will allow me to move closer to my goal? Maybe it's catching that thought, making the unconscious mind conscious of your desires, causing you to shine and rise up in the future. We always want this like instant gratification, this 1, 2, 3, wide awake and we're free of all our issues. There is no learning in that shift. Number one, it's very hard to do. It can happen with the right processes, the right techniques, the right mentor, the right coach to guide you there. But most of the time, it's going to take time. Most of the time, it's going to take time. But that time, there's something to be learned from. In that space of growth, that's where you're going to build yourself up. That is where you're going to see the qualities of you. That's when you're going to understand the nature of you. Because when you get to that place of going, look, I did this. I built this. I created this. Each step along the way, each movement, each step forward. Even sometimes if I fall back, I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to ask myself, what can I learn from this? What can I do because of this? How can I become stronger because of this? What is the message in the experience? What is the meaning of what is showing up? Because sometimes what is showing up is our wake-up call. It is our wake-up call to realize what is happening. What is happening to us? What is our experience? And rather running away from it, rather shying away, rather resigning, all of those things, look at it for what it really is. It is your wake-up call to do something about it. Your unconscious mind, which I believe is your best friend, is trying to help you. It's trying to show you that something's not right. And if something's not right, we don't want to ignore it. If we get those signals of the fear, the worries and doubts, and we just try to sedate ourselves, we try to think, well, I'm not going to do it then because it's too hard or it's too much of a struggle. That's a cop-out. And I want to be a little bit mean here, a bit of tough love, because we need that wake-up call. We need to go, look, let's rise up because of it. What if every challenge, every situation actually made you grow? Made you shine, allowed you to transform, allowed you to see the reflection which is coming back to you and therefore the opportunity to grow. Think about that. Your perception of the external world, the outside world, the things that you experience, your viewpoint, your beliefs, all the things shining back at us. What if we saw it as a reflection of the inner world? That the external world was just simply a reflection of your beliefs. And I'm not saying just like world events, I'm talking about how you see the world. Your perception is simply a reflection. So the results that you're getting is a reflection of the inner construct of your beliefs and your values, your identity, your experiences. So once we, rather like changing the outside world, going from one job to another, one event to another, one relationship to another, one career to another, from debt to debt, up and down, all of these things, rather than trying to change the outside circumstance, let's see it as that mirror. What is shining back at us? What is that fear about? You see, most people will go, well, it's too scary to think about. It's too scary to reflect on my belief systems. It's too scary. And that's not true. Be curious. Begin to look within yourself. Notice the stories you've been telling yourself and realize that you have been telling yourself those stories. It may have started with a seed by someone else. It may have started from that external event, but ultimately we carry on that story. But if we're carrying on the story, we have the ability to change the narrative of that story. We have the ability to do whatever we desire. We've just got to recognize it. Not run away from it. Recognize the story that is always being told to us, that we've been telling ourselves even. You see, if we really stop for a moment, and I really mean stop for a moment, and think about those beliefs, think about those perceptions, think about those ideas. Think about the common themes which keep coming up. If we really think about it, is only being run in here. It's being run within our mind. But that's good news, because that means we have the ability to change it. We have the ability to modify it, to interrupt that strategy. So when we interrupt it and we say no more, I'm more than that. I'm more than the fear. I'm more than the behavior. Because think about it, fear, worry, doubt, anxiety is simply a process. It's a strategy that is being ran within us. And if that strategy is being run within us, you are unconsciously running it. So we've got to connect with the unconscious mind by recognizing that common theme, by recognizing what that belief about yourself and the world is. Don't run away from it. Welcome it. Welcome that self-reflection. We've been so programmed, like I said, for that instant result that we don't get it, then we're just gonna give up. We've been so programmed to think that our thoughts aren't our own, that the fears that we have are unmanageable, or we can't escape them, or it takes years to be able to resolve and deal with them, if ever. But nothing's further from the truth. You've just got to stop and notice them. You've got to be aware of what's happening. Allow that unconscious fear, the unconscious aspect of us, to be present and see it for what it is. Step outside it. Realize that is not who you are. Recognize that that is not the essence of you. You see, you didn't come into the world with that belief system. You didn't come into the world with that scarcity. You didn't come into that world with that significant worry about your identity, or about money, or about health, or about your career. You didn't come into this world thinking that you're an imposter. It was a learned behavior. It was a learned strategy. It was a learned concept of who you thought you are. And I say thought because that's a thought which can pass, and new thoughts come in all the time. You see, in this moment is the now. But we just have to live in this time-based world because we see our past, we see our programming, we take all of that information and we project what we think is true, what we think will happen based on that map of the past. But really, there is only this one moment. And in this one moment, we've got to decide that actually there is more to be seen beyond the fear. So separate yourself for a moment, not necessarily when you're in the event, because that could be pretty tricky, but right here, right now. Take some time to reflect on where those beliefs came from. Are those beliefs even yours? Think about that for a moment. That belief you hold about yourself that we've been holding on so tightly, is it even your belief? Was it passed down to you, maybe from our parents? Where did that belief come? Maybe from their parents. We may be operating belief systems over and over again, generations way back. And we've got to be the person to stop that, because you don't want to be a part of the problem that reproduces it, maybe to our relationship or our children. We've got to stop it in its tracks. One way is assuming that responsibility. Another way is recognizing it. Notice it. Realize that that is not who you are. It is just what you're running at present. But it is a strategy which has been ingrained in us. Think about what the brain is. It's all these neural networks firing off, and if you fire them off over a certain amount of time, they become easier. And we can go into things like neuroplasticity and all those kind of things. But over a consistent amount of time, and especially if there's an emotion there, like if there's just nothing there, it doesn't bind as well. But if there's a constant state or a frequent state of a negative energy or a positive, it's going to start to become more aligned. It's going to start to be more ingrained. The way I've always imagined it in my mind ever since I began to learn this stuff is imagining an overgrown garden. Now, that overgrown garden is pretty tricky, right? Like if you were to go from one end to the other, I'm sure you'd have to like climb through, push through, trying to figure out a way to get there. But if you go down that overgrown garden, say 5 times, maybe 50 times, maybe 100 times, what's going to start to happen? Well, after a while, that's going to be bedded down. It's going to be easier to walk, almost like a little pathway begins to happen. And the more you walk down it, the easier that pathway becomes. It becomes more smooth, more soft. It becomes kind of just like embedded. Well, think about that as your brain, right? Your brain is who you are, and it's an operating system. And as you start to keep that consistent thoughts, that consistent fear, and like I said, we can change it for happiness as well. Anything that you do consistently, you begin to feel like you become, right? So the more you go down that route, you start to recognize it. You begin to symbolically represent it for who you are. That fear feels like it becomes you. It overwhelms you. It stresses you. And the more times we do it, it becomes a habit. And that habit starts to feel like it's an identity conflict. We start to think, well, that's just who I am. Look, I've gone through these events and it always ends this way. That becomes the story. That becomes the narrative of the mind. That is the lies that we are being told about ourselves. And those lies are happening just based on that build-up of time, going through the brain, the neural networks, just like that garden being trodden down. It's our job to actually say, look, I'm going to go down a new path, a new pathway of the brain. And it starts with recognizing your thoughts, becoming conscious, realizing that the things that we go through, the fears and the worries and the doubts, are ultimately our wake-up call to do something, to be different. We've got to make that decision. And the thing is, this is a tricky part. Only you can make that decision. You can get help along the way, but no one is going to drag you through this process. No one's going to ring you up every 5 minutes saying, look, be conscious, take responsibility. And if you do, you got to pay them a ton of money because it becomes a full-time job to do so. You've got to be the instigator. You're the one who's got to decide on what is right and what is good for you. You've got to make that decision that actually I am more. I might not believe it right now. I might be really overwhelmed with fear. It might consume me in that worry and the doubt. And you might not believe that you're worthy of your goal or deserving. You might feel like an imposter. But just because you feel like it, just because you think it, it doesn't mean that's who you are. It means that's your present strategy. It means that's what you're presently going through. So we've got to make that point, that decision that actually I'm ready to do something more. I'm ready to look for more. I'm ready to look for the answers, whether they're outside of you or within you. It's a combination of both ultimately. You want to be able to look within you, but also find the tools or the systems to be able to support you on that journey. Yes, we can just go through ourselves, self-analyzing and understanding and doing all those things, but it's kind of hard to bypass and get out your own way sometimes. So we've got to sometimes get help. So there's nothing wrong with that. We shy away from getting help. We shy away from telling people our thoughts and our feelings of who we feel like on the inside. We rarely go up to a friend and go, look, I feel like an imposter, or I don't feel worthy. And even if we do, we can feel bad about doing so because it makes us feel powerless. But what if we decide today that we're actually going to make a decision that actually that's not who I am. That's not my essence. That's not the beginning of me. That's not the end of me. It is just what I'm presently running. The thoughts and the feelings becoming what we perceive to be our identity or the outlook onto the world. But it's not who you are. So separate yourself from the anxiety. As hard as it may be right now, separate yourself from that fear. See it for what it is, that it's been a learned strategy, a learned way of being that is just happening to us. And we don't have to allow it to carry on that narrative. because you're not your thoughts, you are not your beliefs. They're because you've had beliefs in the past that you totally believed in, but that belief may have changed since you were very, very young. You've had certain thoughts about yourself or others in the world, and you may not think those anymore. You may have foods that you liked once but no longer like, things that you didn't like but now you do like. The mind and the body is just so moldable. So like there's not just like a simple construct and that is fixed position. The brain is wired up to be transformed. Hence, when we get into like the neuroplasticity and things, we can start to rewire it. There's studies and studies and studies of the biology of the brain and the body transforming based on changing the thoughts, changing the beliefs. Because when we do, we change how we see ourselves, but we also change how we see the world around us. You change the filter, you change your experience, and when that happens, you start to see something different. And I would like to hope that you begin to see the light within you, the light within other people, the light in the opportunity, all of those things. That essence never goes out. I believe that essence within you is always going to carry on. It's going to allow you to transform in the most great and powerful way. Because we can go into the world and start to see the opportunity, to look for what has to be done. And then when we do, we make changes. Bit by bit, moment by moment, day by day, we start to see the opportunity and realize that we are our own self-solution. Yes, get help, do all those things. It's hard by yourself, but ultimately, you will look back one day and realize that you made the change, that you did what had to be done, that you rose to the equation, because that means you can begin to shine and be the example of what can be done. Because when that happens, you can go into the world in such a casual way that you begin to look for the opportunity. You're not in this strict way, you're not rigid or anything like that. You're just casually beginning to go into the world, because you ever had one of those experiences when you just feel so at peace and so accustomed? I don't mind if it's in your own home or out and about, you just feel as if you're casually going through life, and that sometimes has to happen. Sometimes we begin to just feel comfortable in our own skin. That's what I want for you. I want you to realize that it's okay to be you, that it's okay to let go of what no longer serves you, to let go and give up those stories, and to truly feel like this is your time, because in this moment, there is no greater time. We can keep on waiting, we can keep on hesitating, we can keep on replaying and doing the same old thing all the time over and over. Let's stop that. Let's do what has to be done. Put the time and put the effort in so you can just be and receive all the things that you desire. Health, wealth, career, relationship, all those things. It's in your hands. You just got to start now. Assume responsibility. Focus on what you want as much as possible. When anxiety is coming in, it is your opportunity to focus on what you want. Use it as a signal to interrupt yourself. Hard at first, but after a while, your brain, the garden of your brain, will be well trodden down in that new pathway. Allow these symptoms that we have to be a signal to look for the root cause, to handle it, to deal with it, to dissolve it, to evolve it to something bigger and better, keeping the safety, but allowing you to know your worth at the very same time. We all have that opportunity, but it starts with you, and it allows you to go through the situations by truly recognizing that when you came into this world, you didn't have those. It was a trained up mindset, it was a trained up set of beliefs passed down or gone through events, but it doesn't have to be who you are, because I believe that you are more than that. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. And of course, I want you to get you to where you want to be. We are actually running a weekend seminar coming up next month. So go ahead and get your ticket as soon as possible. It's a virtual weekend seminar. Go to josephclough.info/event, and therefore you can check out the details. Imagine this, if it only decreased your happiness, if it only decreased all worry, doubts, and anxieties, only by 50%, and only doubled your confidence by spending 2 whole days for the rest of your life, but 2 whole days to just, at the very least, reduce all worries and doubts by 50% and double your confidence. Would that be worth it to you? For the smallest price point that we can, $97, would that be worth it to you? To, at the very least, I'm emphasizing that because you'll get so much more than that, but at the very least, reducing anxiety, worry, and doubt by 50% and doubling your confidence, I would like to think and presume that'd be something that you would say, absolutely, Joseph, because it's our priority. It's something that we truly want to do. And on top of that, if you want to go ahead, because by the way, I'm taking some of my advanced stuff from my premium flagship program, my fully customized program, into this weekend to give you that jump start. But of course, if you want to get that jump start straight away in a fully customized way, you can go to josephclough.info/talk. You can go ahead and book a call with us. We'll get clear on ultimately where you are, what's getting in your way, what's really happening beneath the surface, which is like causing it and creating it, the hidden root causes I like to call it, and then we come up with a plan. See if we can solve it. And if you go in my system, if we enroll you into the program, you will absolutely in every way let go of those issues within 8 weeks. We support you in a fully customized way. Right now, custom hypnosis sessions recorded and created by me with your name on it. We have all the group coaching, a unity, a community, a tribe of people wanting you to shine. We have these powerful processes I've never released out into the world because ultimately these are so big and powerful that with all the customization, it just simply and easily lets go of the issue. So once again, go to josephclough.info/talk for that, or you can go to josephclough.info/event to be able to go into the weekend seminar. So with that, my friends, I hope you have the most wonderful rest of your day, and I look forward to speaking to you on a future episode. So many thanks and goodbye.